Okay, my friends, get ready for this. We're going to be talking about a bacteria database in a moment. And we're also going to be talking about hormones versus enzymes, chemistry, all that stuff that happens in your body. But before we do that, I want to show you this. It's from Seeker. And this is your textbooks are wrong. This is what cells actually look like and how they actually function. Now watch this. This is Gokul. He's from a big university out in California. I can't remember which one. I think anyway. But listen to what he has to say. He was doing research on certain types of lighting that would allow them to watch what was happening in cells without killing the cells. The other lighting use was too much. It would kill the cells and cause all kind of issues. This particular type of lighting allowed them to watch what was happening. Wait till you see this. Here it goes.
I still remember the moment. It's something I will never forget. The hair on my hands just stood up. It's a microscopic universe within each cell.
This is an unprecedented view of the cellular world, where we can actually see immune cells scooping up sugars in the ear of a zebrafish in real time.
Focusing only on the crawling immune cells, we've noticed two classes of them. One was not hungry at all, but it was very active in terms of trying to figure out, what the environment is. There was another one that was kind of slouching around with a lot of food in its belly. We can actually conceptualize and visualize and analyze the contents of each of these cellular compartments in this crawling immune cell as it's kind of scooping up its environment. I mean, that is a level of details no one's seen before.
We're living in a new...
All right, we are living in a new era. Let's just go over this one more time. Okay, my friends, buckle up. You're just about to learn about immunity and the interstitium layer in your body, which is pretty newly discovered, and how the bacteria and hormones and enzymes and so forth work in this layer to protect you. There's been new developments in the techniques used to actually visualize these events as well. But this is all about a database that we want to set up, or we are going to set up. Marguerite O'Reilly over in Northern Ireland is setting this up, and it relates to autism primarily because it's run rampant, absolutely out of control. And over there, it's very bad. Here, it's 1 in 36 kids now have some autistic traits. And it used to be 1 in 44 or something like that just 2 years ago. I mean, it's amazing. They're saying, well, they're just diagnosing it better. Well, maybe. But there's still a lot of kids that are very severely affected. And it appears that there may be some resolution to this. It's going to require the research, and that's all I do is research. I don't recommend anything whatsoever. And we're starting off with looking into what about the bacteria. What does bacteria do? What kinds of bacteria are there? What is the differences between them? What are the different species? Do they affect humans versus animals? And then you go from there, from the bacteria into the enzymes, and what enzymes are necessary to break down what types of foods. All right, and that's what gives kids allergies and so forth. They can't break down the food that they're taking in. It becomes toxic instead of breaking it down to where your body can work with it. And all the breakdowns happen because of enzymes primarily. And hormones go out and they look for the things for the enzymes to attack. That's what it appears to me at this moment. Okay, this is pretty easy to understand. There are literally thousands and thousands and thousands of different types, species of bacteria. Now, they come in two basic shapes. They come sphere, like a round ball, and then they come in cone shapes, and then rod shapes, actually. And then in between, they might be twisted like this or like that or whatever, and they call them both things. It's cocky, and bacilli. Those are the two different types. One of them is rod-shaped and one of them is a sphere. And then the two of them together, sometimes they can't tell the difference. What is that? Is it one or the other? So they call it cocobacilli, which means it's going to be some kind of odd-looking thing. Now, that's the types of bacteria there is. And what does bacteria do? And what's the difference between bacteria and hormones? All right, and first of all, let's talk about autism, because autism right now is a serious issue. It's the latest research in 2023 from the CDC shows 1 in 36 now diagnosed with autism, increase in 1 in 44 just 2 years ago. That's 2 years ago. That's a lot. And they're saying there's different reasons. They're just diagnosing it better now than they did before, and I'm sure that's probably part of it, because maybe this stuff was there all along. But what we need to do is see is something not being produced in the body because there is no bacteria there to produce it. Bacteria produce the enzymes. Without the enzymes, you can't break things down. You can't break down your food. You can't go out and kill things. Enzymes are the chemical factory. Well, they're the chemical trigger that destroys other things. They break down food just like that instantly. And I'm talking instantly. An enzyme is like millions of times faster than normal. That's called, it catalyzes things. It makes it go faster. And they just all break down instantly. But if you don't have the bacteria, you don't break it down. And that's when you get bloating and gut issues and all kinds of problems, because that's in your digestive system. And so this is what this is all about, is analyzing what is in your digestive system. What are you able to digest? You know, a child digesting mother's milk is totally different than a cow digesting cow's mother's milk. The enzymes and so forth, the fats are different, and you have to have the right enzymes to break down the right foods. And I believe a lot of the kids now, for some reason, I'm not sure what it is, but I don't think they have the right enzymes and the right bacteria in their body. And originally, their body has virtually none. It's a process of developing, and that's why they call it weaning. They have to give the mother's milk, which has the enzymes and has the stuff to break down the food that's in the baby's gut, because it's not food, it's milk, and it has to be able to be digested. And that's what the bacteria does. The bacteria creates the enzymes. The enzymes do the breakdowns. And I'm going to show you the chemistry behind it right now. Okay, my friends, get ready. This is going to be very interesting, and hopefully this will lead to a positive result. We're trying to study the body's response to disease and infection. Some people get over things right away. Some people don't. Some people have chronic illnesses. Chronic diseases last a year or more, and they just never seem to go away. And there's irritable bowel syndrome. There's all kinds of, sugar, diabetes. There's cancers. There's like 400 different cancers. These are chronic conditions that I believe it appears to be related to the membranes. It's invasion of membranes. And there is a new layer in these membranes that wasn't recognized until fairly recently. And the ability of that membrane to protect the inside is the important factor here. What keeps that membrane effective at keeping things out and keeping the right stuff in, first of all, and what has to be in that membrane to fight off invading bacteria, because the membrane keeps the things out. It's supposed to. If it doesn't, that's when you are ill. So we want to do a study on the bacteria that resides in these membranes and see if what bacteria seems to control what. And all it is a database. It's not invasive. And I have a friend, Marguerite O'Reilly, in Northern Ireland, where they have terrible problems with autism, and they have terrible problems everywhere, but they seem to have a little excessive terrible problem there. And she's got the government behind her. She went to Harvard Medical School for the microbiome, and she has a son. Both of her sons had autism, and both of them seem to be doing pretty well now. She's working on a solution to their microbiome, which means they poop right. It basically, you have to digest correctly, and the bacteria is what does the digestion because of the enzymes. I'm going to show you all this in chemistry. Very simple, but what we're trying to do is get support for this project, and she's already getting some support. It's slow and it's taken a long time, and she's worked very, very hard at this, and she has some things to contribute that need to be looked at in a very close examining way that's not just dismissive or just doesn't accept. It says, wait a minute, let's talk about the results. Let's talk about what you really did. Who got really what result? Let's see the evidence. This is what you need to do to conduct a true study. But beyond that, we need to know what are the species. This is what we need to do. We need to collect samples to make a database. You have to have the feces and spit and possibly urine from a broad variety of people and kids of all different ages, and find out what is supposed to be there. And women, when they're having babies, I'm finding out these enzymes they're all over the place. These, and these hormones, they're just all over the place, depending upon where a woman is in her female cycle and childbirth. And I think not so much in men. This is a very, very unexplored topic. Because bacteria has only been seen as being beneficial for the last 10 years or so. Or, well, you know what I say, you know what I mean. It's known as beneficial, but everybody's seen it as being the culprit and causing the problems. And it does. There's no question. Bacteria run away, but it shouldn't run away. It should be protected. There's always a give and a take. That's what it appears to be. Otherwise, one of them just take right over. And you have to have good and bad. And some turn other ones on. And if you don't have that exact specific enzyme, you're not going to get that job done. And they are specific as it can be. They control like one exact sequence. And if you don't have it, that sequence is not going to happen. And that's the enzyme, and the enzymes are produced by the bacteria. So this is why we need this database. And I'm going to go over the database, but let's get a little deeper into some of the issues that are forcing us to do this, because this is chronic disease. Chronic disease is invasion of the barrier that says don't come past here. You can stay out there, float around on that fluid-filled highway. And again, that's something that wasn't really known until recently. Let's look at that first. Okay, I believe I talked about the interstitium, which this is to meet your interstitium, a newfound organ back in March of 2018. They realized this existed. They never knew it before because it was flat like a pancake by the time they autopsied these people. But it's a fluid-filled highway, and it's very, very important. And inside this layer here is where your bacteria lives and the enzymes are created. And they go out into this layer here, as I think I showed you or will show you, and they can actually watch this happening now. Something goes in here, scoops up a bunch of stuff and scoots out here. Whether it goes there to deliver it to the lymph nodes, that's possible, or whether it's grabbing up enzymes to go deliver it to an invader somewhere, or to go bring, it senses some type of food and it needs an enzyme to go down and break it out. Because your food doesn't just break down by itself. If you don't have good digestion, you have constipation or you have diarrhea or you have all kinds of issues in your gut, pains and swelling and gas and all kinds of things, because you're not digesting correctly. What does the digestion? The things that live in here, which is the bacteria creating enzymes. The enzymes are the catalysts that break down the food and kill the invaders. Now, you can go both ways. You got good and you got bad, and you have to have them both. If you don't have them both, you're going to be sick. But you have to have them in the right balance. Dysbiosis means one way down here, one way up here. Wrong. They got to be in the right balance. This one counteracts that one. And that's pretty much across the board as far as bacteria goes and the enzymes they create, the chemistry. They work. It's a push and pull, basically. Think of it that way. All right, let me just read you this because it pretty much sets it up. There's something called the microbiota and microbiota. Well, not everybody, but most people have heard about the microbiota, which means the bacteria. Basically, it's bacteria. They're little single-celled critters that are living inside your body that produce enzymes and deliver and pick things up. Well, there's also microbiota, which is fungus. It's basically fungus that lives in us, and it's good for you. They call it commensal. There's things that are good and there's things that are bad. And dysbiosis means you got too much of one and not enough of the other. That's all it is. Now, here's what they're stating back in 2019. This is what they're saying. The human gastrointestinal tract exists as a complex ecosystem. An ecosystem contains a microbiome and a microbiome. They play central roles in host health, disease, and immune system regulation. So for everything, you need the health by breaking down the things so that you can digest them to get the products you need. Disease, you need to fight off the things that are trying to attack you. And the immune system, having yourself ready to fight, having troops ready. Here they review the traditional culture-dependent methods, the culturenomics methods, and the molecular methods used to study the gut microbiome and microbiome. This is what we need to do, is figure out a way to do the data collection for the feces and spit and urine, and then how are we going to analyze it? That's the key. These two things are primary to getting started with this study. So they have made some very good strides in this. Listen to this. It says that we're reviewing the traditional way to get culture-dependent methods. This is very time-consuming. With the development of next-generation sequencing techniques, these last two methods have greatly broadened the understanding of the roles of gut bacteria in health and disease. They're now able to study them and see how much of this is there and how much of that is here, and and what effect it has on your health, basically. But we need a very, very big database. That's what we need to study right now, is get this in a database form. All right, so it says, the last two methods have greatly broadened the understanding of the role of gut bacteria in health and disease. Thus, dysbiosis, unregulated, of the gut microbiota and microbiota has been found to be associated with some diseases. Disruptions to the fungal and bacterial commensal communities influence immune response and impact disease status. So fungal and bacterial. Commensal means good for you. And these communities of these things that are in your body influence how you respond for your immunity and how much disease you get and don't get. They're very, very, very important. These are absolutely stunning chemistry sets that these different little creatures produce. And they're very, very, very specific. And fungal and bacterial, there's two different, it's like an animal and a plant. But you're consuming all kinds of things, and there's toxins that will kill the animal part, bacteria part inside you, and there's other things that will kill the plant stuff inside of you, which is the fungal stuff. And you can't have those killing off this stuff, which is commensal. It's good for you. You have to have this, or you can't break down the foods. Your immune system will not work. So we need to make a database who's got what. And if we find out you don't have all of these things over here, and when you don't have those, you get well, then we better figure out a way to maybe we can intervene and make you have some of that probiotic, because they're probiotics. They're biotic things, but they're good for you. They're probiotics. And then you've got bad things, which are diseases, which come in and kill the good bacteria. And then the bad bacteria takes over. And once they take over, then you may need some deadly bacteria. It comes in and kills everything in your body. And those are antibiotics. They come in and kill the probiotics of your body. Then you're in really tough shape, unless you can bring that stuff back. And a lot of times it won't come back all by itself. You have to supplement it to bring it back. So that's what we want to know, is what affects what. When you get different types of medical intervention, even like just the normal everyday sort of stuff, vaccines and the things that everybody just takes for granted. What happens to your bacteria? Does it ever affect you? Does it affect some people and not other people? Because there's something called pre-existing conditions. It means you're just ready. You're on the edge already. I forget why I got it in here somewhere. But it's all, there's pre-existing conditions. Well, here's the autism rate. It's terrible. It's 1 in 36 children in the U.S. now have autism. And in Northern Ireland, it's even worse than that. 4 times as many as 15 years ago. 1 in 20 school children in Northern Ireland. And this is where we're doing our study. And that's what this is going to be all about. And Marguerite O'Reilly in Northern Ireland is going to be running this study. And she may need some financial, I know she's going to need some financial assistance. She's working on it now. And she's got some, but it's not, this is going to be kind of expensive. So we're hoping we can get donations and everything else. Because this is for the kids. This is for, if you can keep kids from having autism, and if 1 in 20 has autism over there, that's a family. That's not just one kid in 20. That affects the whole family. And some of them are, like Marguerite's son was nonverbal. He was in terrible shape. They were going to put him in a locked ward so that he wouldn't hurt anybody or hurt himself. He was nonverbal. He never communicated. He was just stumming and hemming and jumping and shaking, and he would get aggressive and everything else. And she figured out a way to bring him out of that, and he's pretty much in good shape now. Now there are other issues where kids have a genetic disposition that maybe we can't change. But no matter what, if the bacteria is good in your body, you have a much better chance of not developing these diseases. It's as simple as that. If you don't have the chemistry in your body, you're not going to be able to protect yourself. Now, I think I mentioned this already, but don't forget, this is the most important thing, is this is your immune system literally is living right there in your body. And it covers every single membrane in your body has to be linked into the system. And this is what delivers stuff to your lymph nodes. All the garbage has got to be taken out. And all of the good stuff that has to be filtered down in here normally comes in with the blood. But this will also go in through these fluid-filled lanes and deliver stuff. And the blood will pick it up and so forth. There's oxidation states that work with transition metals primarily right in this range here. And they carry things through your body and drop them off. But the bacteria is a different thing. Those are living little organisms. They have to live in here. And once they get damaged from antibiotics or some kind of toxins, then they have to recover. Some people, they recover fine. Some people, they don't recover. And is it because they just can't produce them, or there's more damage, or I don't know what at this point. But if we could find a database to show this guy is sick because he's missing all these bacteria, and everybody that's missing these bacteria seems to have the same condition, whether it's diabetes or prostate cancer, whatever it is. And there's so many different types of cancers, it's amazing. And I have some shots to show you, hold on. Okay, so don't forget, this is the new organ, and this is the thing that they just discovered, is really this area right through here. And what does this look like if you were to actually see the actual tissue? Well, that is the actual tissue, but if you could see it in a living creature versus a slide like this. All right, this is very recent, and this is from UC Berkeley, I believe. It's Gokal was showing this in a video, and he said the hair on his arm stood up. It's a microscopic universe within each cell. This is an unprecedented view of, I believe this is the interstitium, and in here are your little immune cells, and here they are right here. All right, this is one of those cells that I showed you on that fluid-filled highway in that red area. These are them. Now, this is the bacteria that's running around through here collecting up all these blue jobbers and dragging them out of here. Now, what is it doing? Is it being infected and it's cleaning up all the garbage? I don't know, because that's possible. It's running around grabbing all these blue ones up, and then it goes out through the fluid-filled highway. If it was a cleaner bacteria, it would deliver that to the lymph nodes to be flushed out. If it was an enzyme deliver bacteria, where all of these little balls inside of here are enzymes, and it went out to deliver them, then that's another thing that bacteria does. But the key is, it has to be able to run around through these cells and picking things up and delivering things. It appears these are the factories. And they do say that bacteria are the factories that create enzymes. But bacteria have to live in some kind of a factory environment, and this is it, I believe. All right, so what I was just showing you is probiotics. They're biotic things, and they're good for you. They're pro. And chronic disease. If you don't have the probiotics, you're going to have a chronic disease. And so today they're talking about, this is from the National Library of Medicine, and this is to say that the research has demonstrated a crucial role of nutrition in the prevention and chronic disease. Thus, which is nutrition. Nutrition is you have to break things down, so it's the enzymes in the bacteria. Thus, positive strain-specific effects of probiotics, which are the things that break things down, have been shown in diarrhea diseases. All right, so they don't have the correct things, so you end up with diarrhea because you can't break the stuff down and you can't absorb the fluids correct, all kinds of problems. Inflammatory bowel disease, irritable bowel syndrome, Helicobacter pylori-induced gastritis, atopic diseases, and the prevention of cancer, as the majority of probiotics naturally inhabit the human intestinal microflora. They're just naturally there and in your intestines all the time. Their use has been regarded as very safe. So probiotics they think are pretty safe. However, in view of the range of potential benefits on health that might be achieved by the use of some probiotic bacteria, major and thorough evaluation is still necessary. We need to look at it very, very closely. In conclusion, probiotics act as an adjuvant in the prevention and treatment of a wide variety of chronic diseases. All right? They are helpful in the prevention and treatment of a wide variety of chronic diseases. And that's what we found out with Marguerite's son. He was in terrible shape with autism, and he got quite a bit better. And this goes back now four years or so. And she sent me the reports and everything. She's doing this over in Northern Ireland and setting up this charity over there and trying to help the kids. And if they do this, it's going to be good for the whole society. It's not just good for one family here or there. It's good for everybody. All right, this is a drain on a society, having people that have these chronic conditions. And it's not just diabetes, or it's not just autism, or it's not just cancer. It's all of them. Anything that invades a membrane becomes a chronic disease. And it's always sitting there waiting to be able to be invaded because you can't fight back against it. You don't have the chemistry. This is something that it needs to be more understood. It's the overview of the enzymes in breast milk. When a kid is just born, they have no immune system. They have no immunity built into them at all, basically. Very, very little. And what they do is get it from their mother's milk, which has the enzymes. And that's why you can't just give a kid anything. You give him cow's milk, he's not going to be able to digest it. It's a whole different system. Now, this is the enzyme found in breast milk. There are many different enzymes found in human breast milk, many different enzymes. These enzymes play an important role in the health and development of a newborn child. This is what gets him his immunities going. The enzymes in breast milk serve a variety of functions, some of which are still poorly understood by medical experts. They don't really understand how important this is, but some enzymes are necessary for the function of the breast and the production of breast milk. So they think it's just there as part of the mother's biology, which it could be. Some enzymes help a baby with digestion. Most, I would say, is the case. And others are essential for a child's development. Yes, they break down things so that they can put them back together and build bones and brain tissue and insulation and all of these things. When kids have autism, it looks to me like their insulation that surrounds all of their nerve fibers is breaking down, and it's letting things short out. And they pretty much have found that is the case. And that's why they shake and they can't communicate and they can't verbalize and they can't do a lot of the things that are required through these nerve fibers. And there's something called Schwann cells, and then there's Peyer patches, and there's all kinds of things that they are looking into now that they never really looked at well before. But this is one big web. We have to understand the bacteria first, then the conditions that are produced by lack or too much of certain types of bacteria. And then we have to figure out a way to make the body produce these bacteria by itself. These things are supposed to be living in these layers. They're not your body. That's not your body. They're things that are living there. Let me show you the actual biology. All right, remember this. This is the interstitium. All right, just the whole thing's going on in there. Now, after that, you've got this is these cells, and that's where your bacteria and all that's living. And then that goes out into the fluid-filled highway. And this is the fluid-filled highway. And the bacteria is living in these housing units. And they squirt out into here, and it'll go deliver bad stuff or pick, they do their job from this region through this highway to getting back and forth. And it covers everywhere in the entire body. Now, what is living in there? Well, these are the things that are living in there. They're bacteria. And what is a bacteria? Single cell, one tiny little cell, tiny, tiny, tiny little things. They have DNA just like we have DNA, and that DNA tells what this is and what its life cycle will be. And it'll say, if you have certain type of DNA, you're a certain type of cell, you're going to produce a ribosome. And that ribosome is a chemistry set. And that chemistry set is what we're really worried about. That's the one that we need. And what does it look like? Here's what happens. That ball, you saw that little ball, that ball. It comes out of there, the sheath comes off, and then it opens up like this. And it turns into an enzyme, protein, same sort of thing. It's a whole set of particles that comes out in an actual string. It literally comes out like this. And then as soon as it unfolds, it goes, and then you get the enzyme. You end up with and if it's exactly identical to that, every single time it'll work. If it's not exactly identical to that, it doesn't work. It's called denatured. So that's what we need, is these enzymes produced by these bacteria. The bacteria live in these housing units in this membrane, which is the interstitium. And there's two functions going on. The bacteria has to be told what to do. And it appears that the hormones, I believe these are the hormones, they don't really do much of anything other than sniff around. So they're trying to figure out what the environment is. But there was another one that was slouching. They're just sort of hanging around, laying around, looking for what to do, and then they go report to the bacteria. Then the bacteria goes running around scooping stuff up like this and goes delivers it. It's that type of thing. There's a lot to learn here. I mean, I don't have all the answers, trust me. But I do have enough answers that these are things right here. You see this? This is a hormone. This is almost identical to an enzyme. All right, and it makes insulin work better. Why? Why would that make insulin work better? It's some kind of catalyst or some kind of investigator that goes out and says, whoa, we got a problem over here. Go tell certain type of enzyme to turn on, bacteria to turn on and make an enzyme. It may just be that we're missing this hormone that senses the problem. So we just keep making more and more sugar or whatever it is, and we don't have it. But this is exactly virtually identical to an enzyme, which is this is the enzyme I was talking about, these kind of things here. And they get very, very, very sophisticated. And if it's not exactly like that, it won't work. And this is what's called click biochemistry. When this is traveling through your body and it's just floating around looking for here or there other things to break or attach to or whatever, and when it comes up against something that it wants to attack and it sees this magnetic signature, it goes click and it's done. It destroys the entire network at once. And like cancer cells, they grow in these blobs like this. All right, there's that layer that I talk about. There's the interstitium. This is the layer. You can't get past that. Once you get past that, then you're going to be, that's invasion. And if you can't get it to stop and kill it here and break it here, it just roots into you, and that's what cancer is. These are cancers feeding off of you. So this shouldn't be in your body. And it's feeding off of your vital flesh. And that layer there should have come up and killed it right there by one of these enzymes, very, very sophisticated enzyme. And these are the enzymes, the polypeptide chains, like I was showing you. These big long chains, they come out and then they just go, and it's a magnetic signature. It happens every single time exactly correctly. So my point being, today's whole speech here is about how we can understand what bacteria are in the body and get a database of it, and then see, can we relate it to diseases? And if we can relate it to diseases, can we supplement these particular types of bacteria? Because right now they give you some kind of pill and it's designed to do a whole bunch of things. It's not like targeting like this does. This stuff here, when they make an enzyme, it does exactly one thing. Exactly that one thing, almost exclusively. So it's not targeting a whole bunch of stuff. They give you antibiotics and it kills all kinds of bacteria in you, and a lot of the bacteria is good. And if you can't bring it back and it can't flourish again, then you're in trouble. Then you're always fighting an uphill battle. And I think a lot of this, possibly long COVID and all of these chronic diseases, are a case of weak bacteria or missing bacteria. Both of them are going to give you chronic conditions. So we're going to need some help on this. And this is my introduction to a study that we're going to be trying to get. And all there's going to be is a database. We need to come up with a collection method. How are we going to collect the samples and so forth? Best if we could collect them, have the person do it at home and send them in. And then we need to figure out some way to analyze all the stuff that we're going to be getting in and then feed it into a database. No personal data. There'll be a lot of questions about general health and this and that and so forth. And we create an alphanumeric code with no names, no addresses, nothing. We want to see the range that it's in, because they're finding different school districts have different rates of autism, different towns. And that's all related. It could be to the water, it could be to the air, it could be to anything. But it ends up causing a problem with the bacteria or the hormone, in my opinion. So we want to know the general area, what the water and so forth is like, and that, I believe Marguerite's doing a study on that right now. And then we want to know any issues that the kids may have, or the people, whoever's submitting these, any diseases, any mental, cognitive issues. And anytime they have medical intervention, it would be nice to know what happened prior and then after, and do a study of a couple of hundred just to see. And say, yeah, here's 5 kits. When you go to have your whatever tooth pulled, or a vaccine, or whatever it is, or even women in menopause or going through their menstrual cycle, all that stuff. All of these things are going to change during these different phases. And if they don't change, it might not be a good thing. So we need to get kids very, very early tests and find out anything before, and make sure they're getting the right nutrition, because they have to get these enzymes. You can't give a kid cow's milk. It's they don't have the right enzymes in it. They can't break it down. They can't eat it. They'll get sick. You see this? Enzymes in breast milk. This is 2021. They're starting to pay close attention to this. It says each enzyme has only one job. Only one job. It's specific to the type of chemical reaction that it produces. And these chemical reactions are very, very, very sophisticated. And so it's targeting one specific molecule to make. It's that important that this is correct. This is something else we want to find out. Are kids getting cow's milk instead of baby formula or mother's milk? And the reason you really shouldn't do this is that infants cannot digest cow's milk as completely or easily as they digest breast milk or baby formula. And that's because of the enzymes. More importantly, cow's milk does not contain enough of certain nutrients that babies under a year-old need. Those nutrients are produced by enzymes. Enzymes break down things to make available molecules that the baby reassembles to grow its organs and everything else. And they know that it can severely damage a baby by not having the correct nutrition, just like anybody else. So it's beyond digestion, nutrition needed babies need. Cow's milk contains high concentrations of certain proteins and minerals. It can stress a newborn's immature kidney, and cause severe illness. So, now they're talking about once your baby turns a year old, and then how the digestive system is supposed to change. All right, this is also going to be part of the questionnaires about how you raised your kids and what they ate and when they started eating solid food and so forth. Because until they're 12 months of age, no other milk substitutes or anything, a formula, I guess, is good. But human milk is the best. Now, once your baby turns a year old, things change a little bit, and you may give them pasteurized whole cow's milk or reduced fat, providing they have a balanced diet of solid foods. Now, some of them aren't even eating solid foods at this point, basically. So, and they say, talk to your pediatrician, that's the best thing. But they're starting to understand more about it. They understood a lot about it, but they're starting to understand how important the bacteria and the enzymes are. The enzymes are the key. And then age 2 and up, and so forth. And this was just updated in September of this year, a couple months ago. So this is, they're really starting to pay more attention to the real basics. And in order to understand the real basics, you have to understand what is present in the system of these kids and what makes these changes in some cases. I'm not saying everything has the same cause and effect, but there should be some pattern show up in a database that says if you're missing a certain type of bacteria, pretty much everybody that's missing that bacteria is going to have a similar issue if it's important for the production of some type of product your body needs. You can't make it, you're going to have a pre-existing condition. Pre-existing condition just means that you're set up for a chronic disease. Pre-existing condition, health condition exists. They're talking about it for health insurance. But it's also, you're ready to get sick. Now, this is Marguerite O'Reilly, and this is John Jr., and he was in terrible shape, and now he's doing pretty good. And he was nonverbal. They couldn't communicate with him at all. And she would take him around here or there, just like trying to socialize him. But there was no responses, and they never really know whether he was even there or not. And after he became verbal and started talking, and she took him to the zoo, which she had done before. And he said, remember the last time you took me here, the zebra, I guess it was a giraffe, was smaller or something. And she went, wow, she never realized he even knew the giraffe existed. So they may be trapped in their own little world. This is all new stuff. But she's doing a fabulous job, and she's the one that's going to handle all this. Now, she went to Harvard University for the microbiome after resolving her son's issue, and it didn't take long. She's got a plan, and she's she's hooking up all this stuff, autism, Alzheimer's, all these things are related. And she's doing a fabulous job. I mean, I can't give her enough credit because fabulous. And this is, it's not easy to do these things. And a lot of people have these issues that if we can intervene, and especially before they get into a certain age, they just give up on them. At 9.5, they say, that's it, you're done. There's nothing we can do. And that wasn't true, because John was 9. I think at this point they had told her, there's nothing we can do. He's going to have to go into a locked ward. And she was off the wall crazy. And I worked with her, and it didn't take long. It was only a couple of months. He was starting to talk, and and he's gotten much better even since then. And she lives this. She lives this life. So she tweaks this and tweaks that. And she did go for her microbiome to understand Schwann cells and all the tubing in your body, which is all where your nerve fibers run and what protects them and coats them. It's all fascia. It's all fascia. And every single nerve has a nerve type has to have a different molecule. That's why some kids have only certain this and certain that, or they're just terrible, all kinds of things. It depends. Where is that Schwann cell that's being affected? What's the chemistry in that particular structural area where these nerve fibers run? And they're all different. They're all different. So there's thousands and thousands and thousands of these different species of bacteria. And the only way we're going to be able to figure it out is to get a database. I know it sounds like a daunting task, and it could be, maybe it's going to be impossible. But we know at least now, we already know there's a ton of different bacterial strains, and they know about them, and they know the ones that they consider to be probiotic, and they know the other ones like C. difficile that will kill you. Now, it's a balance, though. Again, there's a lot of work to do here. But I'm telling you, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. So I'm going to leave it at that. And hopefully, at some point, someone will step up with some money, because everything takes money. Now, they are helping her, apparently, over there in Northern Ireland. They realize they got a serious problem. And they're stepping up. And I give them credit for that, because I can't find anybody that takes any real interest in things now that don't have their self-interest. Now, everybody should be interested in this. This is a tragedy that needs to be at least worked on. And that's what we want to do. All right? I love you all. And please research. Aluminum experts. Aluminum is one of these molecules that's near the silicon and phosphorus. There's so much to understand. All right, so I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you. I love you all.